and welcome to the unknown webcast. What in the world is going on here?
We have a
Oh, there we are.
There
This
we
is
are.
just a bit of a trigger warning for those who think that words are more injurious than sticks and stones. I really am so conservative I can't turn left even when I'm
I
driving.
can vouch for that.
uh, and in
Something
addition to
doesn't say
giving
that.
trigger warnings to our viewers, Ron Hensel and I both drink coffee for your protection.
Yes, we do.
This week, our friend Melissa Dougherty, I think she's still our friend, joins us to talk about her new book, Happy Lies. My name is Don Vino. I'm president of Midwest Christian Outreach Inc. in Wonder Lake, Illinois, which produces the Unknown Webcast. And our senior researcher is still Ron Hensel, and he will introduce the sponsors of today's webcast. And here is Ronnie Baby.
Greetings from sunny Florida, where the palm tree came out, and we have no graphic because I'm not sure why.
Well, we're going to fix that in a second.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Oh, no, put it back up. We're having issues today.
You guys haven't changed a bit.
Pardon?
You guys haven't changed a bit.
I do not. Oh, there it is.
Okay, you took me off or what? I don't know. Greetings from sunny Florida, where the palm tree came out, saw its shadow, and now we have 12 more months of summer. Our sponsor for this edition of the Unknown Webcast is World's End Theology Outlet, your one-stop resource for half-baked heresies, dubious doctrines, and other ideas whose time has gone. World's End Theology Outlet, our regular legal disclaimer. Our guest on today's webcast, insert name here, that will be Melissa Dougherty, has no connection whatsoever to any of the satirical content of the Unknown Webcast, or have to refer to as the webcast, although we probably will not mention it again. This satirical content includes any and all commercials, end credits, puns, smart remarks, or anything else that might fall under the definition of satire. In the meantime, Midwest Christian Outreach Inc. bears no liability for or responsibility for anyone's opinions regarding this satirical content. Notice, the opinions expressed on this webcast are ours and should be yours too. If you enjoy it, if it really annoys you and you want to inflict it on someone else to ensure your continued access, please go to midwestoutreach.org, click the yellow donate button, and contribute as you feel led. And as you do, never fear. This webcast is Y2K compliant. And don't forget to subscribe to us on your favorite video channels. And now for our very special guest, tell me if you don't hear the applause, please, Don. Melissa Dougherty. Coming through, isn't it? Okay, I only told you to come if you don't hear it, so I guess you're fulfilling that. Greetings. Well, we sprung for fake applause that we have exchanged for just me clapping my fingers together.
And there we are. I looked, it all worked. It all worked for you this time.
This one time. And yeah, and I got back. You see, they put this new pane here. I don't think Melissa can see it.
Well, that's only because you are a little pain. It's
a PANE pane. And
oh.
And ever since they put that there, nothing has worked the way it always did before.
Yeah. Well, it's been an interesting. Our StreamYard, which I love dearly. I really have liked it a lot. They've made a couple of modifications which are glitchy to us from time to time. So, but
let's put it this way: there's never been a week until now when I clicked off my share, when I clicked stop sharing, it didn't turn the whole thing black. This is the first time it didn't do that.
Yep. So that's good. So anyway, not to like bore everybody with our technical issues. By the way, Melissa, you might want to know that disclaimer we have in the very beginning there is for Marsha Montenegro's sake.
Just for her.
Because every time we would have her on, she would go, I have nothing to do with this satire. I don't, So we said, okay, let's just do a little disclaimer, and then we'll use it for everybody.
See, when one person gets out of line, we punish everybody.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So, and I would say that's especially important for people who don't have a sense of humor. But as it happens, you do have a great sense of humor.
I like to think so.
We agree. So
it's been kind of fun for me to watch you grow in the faith. We met, I don't even know how many years ago it was, at the Witnesses Now for Jesus convention, as a young woman who was passionate about reaching Jehovah's Witnesses. And
it was like 13 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Well, Yep. And like Joyce says, time flies whether you're having fun or not. So
Yeah.
especially as you get older, then it really.
It's crazy though to think back to, because all the people that have been pivotal in the beginning of me even doing ministry, you, Keith Walker, oh my gosh, Christy Darlington now,
Darlington,
right?
right?
There was just so many people, and that was just ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons, right? And then you get into that world and then it just evolves, but I never planned on getting on YouTube and stuff. But it's funny because, like, I'm all, man, I go back with a lot of these people, and I'm like, go follow their stuff. They're really smart too. And yeah, I was like, I'm on the shoulders of giants with a lot of these topics.
Well, and as are we.
Yeah,
Right.
You carry on the baton. Hold on, let me turn off my heater real quick. I forgot I left it on.
I started
Don't
out.
worry, I'm still here.
Oh, good.
There we go. We're just having a pajama party today.
Excellent.
There we are.
Well, you see, that is kind of the fun thing about live, and the fun thing about, since we're live, we just do what we do. This is like home. We're having a discussion at home, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And all of that, like, see, I followed kind of the same track. I grew up as an atheist, and I became a Christian after my son was born. And shortly after that, my wife met some Jehovah's Witness women that she really, really, really loved and wanted to reach. And so it caused us to have to learn about what the Jehovah's Witnesses believe. And it didn't seem like a lot of people were involved in that kind of ministry back in that day. I think there were only 4 books out even that were somewhat helpful, but they were mostly angry.
What year are we talking now, Don?
Oh, that would have been early 80s, probably.
Okay.
And so we learned that, and then we heard about this conference in
Pennsylvania.
What is not for Jesus? In fact, we saw Laura McGregor and Joan Centnar, Gene Eason, and somebody else. Helen Ortega, 105 Years of Watchtower, and they were on the John Ankerberg show. And so we said, okay, we're going to go meet them. They'll tell us how to do ministry. Well, we met them. They couldn't tell us how to do ministry, but we learned a great deal from them.
Yeah.
And then we started getting phone calls about a number of other groups. And Joy looked at me in her kind way and said, okay, I'll do Jehovah's Witnesses and you do everybody else. And that's how Midwest Christian Outreach sort of came to be.
But you don't know, that's pretty rare that you get both spouses on the same page that way, John.
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, it's very rare. And not that it's bad if your spouse has other interests, as mine does, but it's really refreshing to see it when you can.
Well, it is, and she's really smart and has a great sense of humor, and so we would. I don't know, Melissa. I don't know if I ever told you this. We used to read old Watchtower books to each other because some of them are just hysterical. When you're reading,
that's funny.
When you're reading Russell writing about hair growth is the result of smoke on the brain coming out through the pores in the skin and getting hard.
I thought of that first. I thought
these are the prophets of God. The prophets of God, gentlemen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's how these things happen, and it happened to you in a kind of similar way. Other things came along. You're quite creative. You were an artist and got engaged in YouTube and made fun satirical videos, mostly about. Well, the ones I remember are women's Bible studies.
That one was one of the first ones I made. And it's funny because the best satire is true. Yeah. Like all you're doing is taking reality and pushing it to its logical conclusion. Like it's fun. Sometimes it's, it's just a sense of taking ridiculous things and
not showing how ridiculous they are.
Yeah, like you're not, and it's funny because there's good satire and there's cliche or even what's the word? Like it's not done with the best intent. Like sometimes it's a little, like it can be a little pushy, I suppose. But then good satire actually shows you the truth about a situation or a belief.
It does.
And yeah, like there's one that I did where it's when people say that they're a Christian, right? And it's like, like, okay, I'm gonna call myself a Christian, and then there's a Mormon, a Jehovah's Witness, you have a New Ager, you have a progressive, and they all call themselves Christians, but they all fundamentally deny core Christian concepts. And I'm like, yeah, this is satirical. This is funny. Like, this is actually satire stuff. So yeah, that's where it comes from.
We used to get heat about that, and we were concerned about it. But then I started discovering that the Bible has a great deal of satirical stuff in it.
Yeah, my pastor did his D-Min thesis on satire in Scripture.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking. I think Isaiah. He says, "Okay." God says, like if we're writing it today, what's the deal? You take a tree, you cut it down, you cut it up into 3. With one part, you heat yourself. With one part, you cook your dinner, and with one part, you carve into an idol, and you fall down and say, "Save me." What's that? That's satire. That's what that is. Yeah. So now, how do we then transition into this?
Here, why don't we just do it this way?
Okay, like that.
I like really fast transitions,
I see that. You did that quite well, Ron.
Thank you.
Shocked and amazed.
I did it just to get that compliment. And so here is the table of contents. And
the book is Happy Lies, How a Movement You Probably Never Heard of Shaped Our Self-Obsessed World.
Now, who is that painter, that guy? He had fuzzy hair on PBS and says, "Let's paint happy little trees. Let's paint."
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross. I thought this is a Bob Ross title. Let's just have happy little lives.
Yeah.
So
what prompted you to write this particular book? Because it's as I know and as Ron knows, it's a lot of research to write a book.
Yeah, I didn't want to write a book. That was like I had no desire. I've been very forthright over the years saying that I had no desire to write a book because I know what goes into it. Because the books that I read and the books that I get the most out of are the ones that are heavily researched. They have some good hard-hitting stuff for you, and I see those footnotes. Okay, like I see, I see, and then writing an essay for seminary, for example, it's like what goes into it, and I'm an apologist, and part of it is you have to have integrity in your research. It's like an apologist is like a Christian journalist. Like you have to actually go and get the story, and it just takes a lot of time. But it was a variety of things. It was because my background, I've always said I'm an ex-New Ager. And I think that that's a general term for people who have left a really strange like belief system.
Yeah.
And it's like it's under the whole umbrella of just, it's all New Age. Any wiggity whack weird belief system is New Age. And I'm learning that that's just not the case. It's what I came out of was New Thought. And I thought that New Thought was still under the umbrella of New Age. And that's not the case. And I didn't know that for a long time. You and I go all the way back. Like you're an OG in my ministry story. And all the Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, counter-cult ministry. That was like my first love in ministry. But I avoided kind of talking about this topic. I was embarrassed. I was like, how could I have been a Christian since I was 16 and fallen for, what I thought were New Age beliefs? And it took years and years and years for me, even in ministry, like actively in ministry since 2011, for me to think or to realize there's a difference between these two.
Right.
And when I saw it, when I realized, New Thought is different than New Age. It's not under the New Age umbrella. This is an entirely different movement because what I was involved in looked and sounded Christian. It was very unique in that way, whereas most ex-New Agers that I talked to would not have called themselves Christians. Right. They were something else entirely. Maybe they took Christian concepts and applied it, but they didn't like actively go to church. And I was in church volunteering, believing in metaphysical Christian beliefs. And I didn't realize that's what it was. But when I saw it, I was like, I'm so annoyed right now because I can't make a video. This has to be a book. This has to be a book. And so, yeah, and it takes years. I don't like the process. I don't like having to write a proposal and send it to a publisher and, you know, write the chapters and tweak it and do all the research. Did not like it. But I did actually like doing the research part. That part I liked because I went into the spaces and talked to the people. I love that. I've always done that. I've always gone into like Kingdom Halls, LDS wards, whatever spiritual place I could get into for research, because apologetics is journalism in a way.
Right.
I went, and I've always done that. And so in this case, I did the same thing. I went into Unitarian Universalist churches. I went to Unity centers. So anybody that would talk to me, I made calls to the International New Thought Alliance. I went to anywhere. I traveled places. I mean, I love gathering the information. What I don't like is writing it down and organizing it. You know what I mean? And the hardest part was, I mean, you have this mountain of research of information, and you have to pick a little bitty part of it to put into your work.
Right.
That was hard. And so I was like, I can just make videos of it afterwards. That was the way I mean,
less is more, really, and finding the kernel that needs to be communicated. I mean, there's so much good stuff you have to leave out. In a book.
That was frustrating for me. And so I'm like, where do I pick and choose? And that's where following up with videos has been very nice. And because I can refer them back. I'm like, if you want the punch of what New Thought is, read the book. Because it's very thorough. But the things that I couldn't go over, like I want to do a whole deep dive on Emanuel Swedenborg, for example. Not many people know who he is.
Right,
but I'm like,
exactly.
I'm like, why does nobody know who this man is? Like you're talking about one of the most pivotal figures in spiritual history. You know what I mean? I'm like, nobody even knows this man's name. And so
and people hear about this character named Johnny Appleseed, and they just think he's the guy who's out planting apple trees. No.
Well, one of our sponsors is connected to the Church of Smorgasbordianism.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I always feel there must have been an influence with
probably was.
Yeah. So
what you did there.
You mentioned Swedenborg. Go ahead.
I just quickly, I want to do kind of three quick things. One, you mentioned that I'm an OG. Now there are those
I got called that
who are older than you who are going to go, what's that? So what is OG?
That's what my agent said. I actually used that term in my history chapter. I'm like, these are the OG New Thought people. And it's slang. And then my agent, who's about y'all's age, was like, what does that mean?
Don, it means original gangster.
Thank you, Ron.
I do know that. I didn't know.
I was on, what was it? What was that podcast I was on? Cross. Yeah. It's in Moscow, Idaho. Well, anyways, because of this article I wrote that they really liked, and they called me the OG, and I had no idea.
It's a compliment. It means that you are the original gangsta. You are the original
top guy,
kind of like the original source.
Okay.
You can Google it. Your Urban Dictionary.
They explained it to me, and as soon as they said original gangster, and I knew gangster was a good thing.
I asked it for the viewers because there's going to be those crashing here going, what?
Think of the funny Thug Life meme where the sunglasses are on because he's delivered a zinger. Think of the people that you read as like Walter Martin, like he's an OG.
Right. He's an OG. Right? He's definitely an OG.
He's sure.
Yeah, and so you think of people who are
Norm Geisler.
He's an OG.
Exactly.
I would go back to John Calvin myself, but Martin.
So, by the way, Ron, cross politic.
That's what it was. Okay, yeah.
All right, so that's one. Two, then, now that I got totally distracted. Oh, yeah. Footnotes. Really important.
Ugh.
Footnotes are really important.
Yeah.
Superior to
And
endnotes.
in
by
fact,
the way.
when one of the things that the comments that we kept getting about our Gothard book was some of those who were like me, the first thing they looked for was how many footnotes do you have?
Mm-hmm.
And we have like, I don't know, 400 footnotes in our book. So they bought the book on that basis because they figured it was
Really?
well researched. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's important.
So, like half of them just said Ibid, though. Just kidding.
Yeah. Well,
Must have given a
and then for us, the third thing that we have, and we tend to write this way, is there were 3 of us involved in the process.
Mm.
So I typically kind of put things out. Here's the form, the format, the outline, put my stuff in. Then it went on, in this case, to Ron, who did all the smart stuff because he's way smarter than I am.
That's what he
And
thinks.
then we hand it off to Joy, and she makes it read like it wasn't written by a committee. So we work pretty well together.
You're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
I
you
have to
mentioned,
do it with just my brain typically, which is dangerous. Yeah.
yeah, Don is a good networker. He knows how to build teams and
Yeah.
get things. You know, I've been waiting my whole life for a guy like Don to come along. You came along when I was in my 30s, thankfully. So in any case, you mentioned. Now, do you have another thing, Don? I thought you said you had.
no, that was a 3.
Because I was going to talk about people. I actually didn't think about Swedenborg.
Swedenborg, yeah.
So I forgot if he had any connection. So here's this one guy. Did you cover
Oh,
him in
yeah.
your book?
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
there?
He has a whole section in my book. Mesmer is known for, people might know him for mesmerizing, hypnotism.
Right.
Yeah. And he played a big part because he's a French dude.
Okay.
And he's another guy I want to do a deep dive on because I'm like, why does nobody know who he is?
Right.
Yeah, he's actually a
Somebody
really
must.
interesting guy. Yeah, he's like he's the OG NAR prophet.
NAR Prophet.
That
Not
is
really,
perfect
not really.
because most
But
people
yeah.
are not going to know why there's a connection. He's the OG NAR prophet. That is great.
He's actually
So-
kind of not though. But when it comes to his, how do I say it? His
Influence.
magician, like the way that he would put on a show, a lot of people would end up like, you know, scream crying on the floor. Some people would convulse. Some people
Really?
would, yeah. And a lot of it was like a social contagion in what he was doing. Like the things that he would
Really?
magnetize the water and heal you through magnetism. He called
Wow.
it animal magnetism.
He's like a
There's a
Benny
whole thing.
Hinn.
Yeah. There's a whole thing that he did, but I kind of, he's one of the players in the development of New Thought. And
And then how
like
about this guy?
like Phineas Quimby, he
Which-
was a mesmerist.
He
Yeah.
was a Phineas Quimby.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 big names that come up on the Wikipedia page, and I thought, I'm sure Melissa knows all about them.
Yeah, they made it into, especially I was surprised Mesmer made it into one of the big players because a lot of people leave him out, but Quimby, people just skip right to Quimby. But Quimby was a mesmerist, and Quimby took a lot of Mesmer's stuff and beliefs and applied it into his mind science practitioner stuff that he would do.
So now there's, how many connections are there? I mean, you saw a connection between New Age and New Thought, right?
Actually,
No?
they're different.
Oh, they're very different.
Yeah, there's a whole chapter defining terms of what New Thought is, and I differentiate the two, explaining New Thought is not New Age. Here's what New Age is, here's what New Thought is, and here's the overlap. So I've never met, in fact, where is this book? I always quote this book. It's always around here somewhere. I'm gonna paraphrase it because I have, as I'm sure you guys can understand, your shelves probably look similar to mine. But New Thought, people in New Thought would say, no, we're not New Age. We are not New Age. New Age wouldn't even know the word New Thought, but New Agers have adopted a lot of New Thought without really realizing it. But people in New Thought would say, no, we're something different. Like, it's very interesting in the beginning of the movement. However, there are overlaps. For example, channeling entities like Quimby. He said that he would use clairvoyance to diagnose his patient. And the way he did that sounded a lot like what New Agers do, but he would not say this is New Age. This is something he would call the Christ mind. He's using this divine mind to kind of gather intel, spiritual information about your body and your diagnosis and things like that. Whereas a New Ager would say the practice is different, but the methodologies they look very similar. Swedenborg is a great example. I mean, he had entities talking to him, giving him spiritual information. And we wouldn't see that as very different than what a lot of New Agers do. But it very briefly, New Age is very different. It's Eastern in origin. New Thought is more Gnostic in origin. New Thought is in a sentence is thoughts are things. It's the positive thinking movement in America with Jesus as its mascot. It's metaphysical Christianity. New Age would not say it's Christian at all. It's more Hinduism, Buddhism. We recognize it more. New Thought is way more tricky because it looks and sounds Christian. So that's that. When I discovered that, I'm like, oh, that's why I thought it was Christian. It's not New Age.
Now,
people would ask me about it, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like what the New Age thing is.
In New Thought, you say thoughts are things.
Yeah.
That pick gets my attention. Did you notice, or did you come across anything that made a connection between that and like German idealism, the philosophy of?
Oh, I'm so interested. That's so interesting. You bring that up. Yes, idealism. New Thought yes, 100% builds on the thought concept of idealism. It's impressive that you picked that up because yes, the material world is physical, but your mind reacts to the spiritual world to create the physical world. So your material world is a extension of your mind. And so you can pull, this is a Swedenborgian concept too. The law of correspondence. Yeah. I mean, you can pull from the spiritual world and manifest it in the physical. So if something's wrong in the physical world, like your body, you can fix it in the spiritual realm. How do you do that? With your thoughts, words, and feelings. And so you speak it into existence. You're a co-creator with God.
Which is very word faith.
I was just going to say, a lot of people do not realize that the prosperity, health, and wealth teachings, not before the Word of Faith movement even had a game, a card to play in that game, it started in New Thought. The New Thought movement was the genesis of the prosperity gospel.
So it helped me. I always had a hard time understanding idealism and Hegel and all that until somebody said, well, we should just call it ideaism. In other words, if you say idealism, it sounds like you're talking about you're idealistic, Right. But that's not the point. The point is ideas are like things.
Exactly.
Things.
Thoughts and
so sometimes when Melissa's talking, Donna, I'm thinking about, and I'm not sure if there's a really good connection, but Gothard. But we could explore that.
No, Gothard's a little different because he got a lot of his stuff from let me think, Chinese Watchman Nee, Witness. Yeah,
well, Watchman, I'm not thinking of sources. I'm thinking of conclusions. But
right,
you could go somewhere else with that. But that was good. Whatever that was, the cult of Mithras had ungrounded.
Well, and you have a connection obviously then between other quote New Thought ideas like Christian Science.
Yes.
And the Fillmores came out of that.
Yeah.
So in fact, one of the things we talk about in our book, in our kind of preamble in the book, we talk about the Christian Science and the Fillmores also, who went through a series of changes of the names of their group. So we thought, well, at least they thought about their name. So
so my great-grandparents were in Unity and Christian Science. This is their Christian Science Bible.
Okay.
Falling apart. And I have a ton of Unity books. So like this is Prosperity. I actually quote this book in my book. This is a Unity book by Fillmore. Is this the one by Fillmore? But look at that. Like, isn't that hard to read?
Very.
But all these are original books to my family. And
wow.
Yeah, the whole, so first, the thoughts are things is like a New Thought it's throughout their material. Like that is
Mhm.
absolutely the thing. And then Christian Science, that was interesting. I actually didn't write a lot about Christian Science in my book because I thought I'd write more. But it was like because it was like a New Thought cult.
Right.
Everything that New Thought was trying to do, which is Jesus without the dogma, the religious fundamentalists, it's without the rules. It's having the power of God in the name of Jesus, and humanity is good, all these things. Like, it was divorcing itself from all these really beautiful Christian concepts and creating this thing, right? They're trying to get rid of the dogma. They're trying to get rid of the rules, and
Right.
you're the authority. Well, she managed to make a cult out of that, which is Christian Science.
Right.
She was not
She
a
was
very kind
different.
person. Yeah.
When you held up
Yeah.
that Christian Science Bible, that was a copy of Science, Health, and Key to Scriptures,
Key to
right?
Scriptures, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think she also has a smattering of Hinduism in there, because there is no physical world in Christian Science.
Yeah,
So,
she's a little bit more. What I do appreciate about the cults, if you will,
If you will.
is that they leave quite a good paper trail. They're easier.
they do, yeah.
They are way easier to research because you can you have it black and white. It's in writing. This is this, that is that. Whereas if you get into more of like the squishy spiritualities like New Thought or progressive Christianity, and if you read my book, you'll know exactly what I mean, because
Yeah.
they change the goalposts. Oh,
Right.
that doesn't work for me right now in this minute. So I'm going to go here. I'm like, well, hold on. You just said this. Well, yeah, but this is my truth and blah, blah, blah. You can't be certain about anything.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. And so I'm like, at least I appreciate that about the cults. I'm like, thank you for being forthright and
Yeah.
being
Well,
consistent.
that's like the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
We have new light.
Yes.
Oh, well, okay. How old does something have to be before you need new light? I mean,
But you know what the new light is, Don. You know what the new light
does
is.
truth actually go stale, and so you need new?
Is it like going from incandescent to fluorescent to LED? Because I've had new light in my house 3 times in the last 20 years.
All right.
That's old
And
light.
with that, one of our favorite characters is a sort of a product of New Thought. He's a very, very popular teacher, and we have a product that he endorses.
He has a
proudly.
product, something you should think about, because there's some questions here. Are you still trying to figure out how to clean up in the ministry business? Do you want to finally learn how to get to the bottom of growing a successful church? Would you like to flush away your failures and start having your best church now? Well, then you need Charlatan Ultra Soft. Nothing says theologically soft like Joel Osteen's Charlatan Ultra Soft. And even when COVID comes back, there's never any shortage. It's been personally tested by the man himself. It provides comfort where it counts. It wipes away even the most stubborn orthodoxy. It comes with a money-back guarantee. Keep those butts in the pews with Charlatan Ultra Soft at World's End Theology Outlet. So, see how to do that. See, that's there.
There we are, back again.
Yeah. As soon as I click that stop sharing, should I just give you a heads up? I'm going to hit stop sharing now. And
I was trying to move it over there, but my camera's in my way, so
I was too quick.
So let's take it kind of from the top here. We're kind of talking around the edges of all of this, the stuff that all of us know a smatterings of, some more than others, and you've done great research. So why you can't know, what you don't know can hurt you. That's chapter 1. I've heard that before. Why is that true here?
What you don't know can hurt you?
Yeah.
Well, because that's the whole idea. It's like if you it's kind of like, that saying that of the frog that slowly boils himself to death.
Yeah.
It's like, do you even know that you're in something like that's going to hurt you eventually?
Gradually
Okay.
warming up.
Yeah, well, and then think of like your husband who's cheating on you, or it's like, yeah, if you don't know it, it's like this blissful ignorance that if you don't realize that you're living a lie or believing a lie,
I'm going to give you a live personal experience why this is important. I was a part-time chaplain at a hospital, and they brought a man in there who died in transit to the hospital of cancer that could have easily been cured had it been handled earlier.
Mhm.
However, he was going to Kenneth Copeland. He and his wife were going to Kenneth Copeland crusades, and Copeland told them that if they take the medication and the um, doctor's advice, they are claiming the illness. So they need to claim the healing, which means abandoning all of the medical. And he did, and he
Hmm.
died. And as I went to talk with the wife, she looked at me and said, I don't want to talk to you. Your guide lied to me.
Your
So,
guide?
your
God.
God. Your God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? Because
bad theology hurts people.
and bad
Mhm.
theology hurts people.
That's
What they
why.
didn't know hurt them. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah, so and that's a difficult one to overcome because she believes that came from the Word of God. She doesn't
Mhm.
realize it comes from New Thought.
Yeah, it came from the prosperity, health, and wealth teachers, and then it's been abused by the prosperity leaders, and it's very cultish, the environment, because you're not allowed to question. And this is the other thing that what the New Thought movement did, and this is historically, I believe, documented with the movement, is that it kind of made a disdain, if you will, for critical thinking.
Right.
And I think Elisa Childers, I'm actually going to do a reaction to her video. It was so good because she just made a video about the anti-intellectual strain in the church.
Mhm.
And like, this is actually new. This is actually a new thing where intellect is looked at as a lack of faith, and that you just have to have this suspension of your mind in order to experience God. And I'm like, that's mysticism.
It
Like,
is. Yeah.
actually not a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're breaking the first commandment, loving God with all your heart, but also your mind. Like he
Mhm.
wants us to draw that in there. And so this movement, along with other peripheral movements that were going along with it, but New Thought was very pivotal in making it so that your critical thinking is negative thinking. And if you're thinking negatively about your situation, that's what you're going to bring.
Right.
It's like Quimby taught this. Your illness is you brought on your illness by your wrong thinking. So how
Mhm.
do you correct the illness? You correct your thinking. That's it. There is no, and you know what's funny? Okay, so speaking of satire and like pushing it to its logical conclusion, I always wonder, I'm like, well, how far do they take this? Like, if illness is by wrong thinking, like, do they wash their hands? Like,
Right.
you
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
Like, how far do
Exactly.
you eat out of the trash? Like, how can you go to the floor? Can
Now,
you
these
like
are some really good points.
I want to know how far you take your faith.
Exactly. Exactly. Why don't you just walk into like a highly contagious medical zone? Where, why don't you just
Yes.
walk into a place where the plague is being spread, or maybe you should have been the person in the COVID hospitals who was handing out candy
I'm
canes or
saying,
something,
I
because
just I just want to know how
they
far
did
you take it. Because
well
if
they
it's
did
your wrong thinking, then that's the idea. And so, I mean, and there's a whole history. I have a whole chapter on the history of New Thought getting into the Word of Faith movement, because I bring it back to four things. And I might have to update this later as I research more. That's the other frustrating thing about writing a book, is that you never stop learning about it, and you're like, oh man, I should update that. Anyway, but in four areas where it's specifically leaked into the Word of Faith movement, because it's not just New Thought. If you could marry together, if Pentecostalism of the 1800s, the Faith Cure movement, and New Thought got together and had a baby, you would have the Word of Faith movement. And so it's not inherently New Thought, and some of it is Orthodox. But I draw it back at four places, which is positive confession, which is a big one. Like, speaking positively over your situation, very New Thought. Positive confession, health, wealth, and the little God's doctrine, the idea that you share this divinity with God. That's the other thing New Age and New Thought have in common, is that you're divine somehow. But with New Thought, it's so tricky because it makes you like Christ, literally. Like, you have the same power that he did. he's not uniquely God. A New Thoughter would say, yeah, Jesus is God, but so are you. Like that's how they would phrase that.
Right.
Hmm.
I'm responding to someone here. New Age, New Thought. You are God. You call your own. Oh, I know. I was thinking. I spent some time with a New Thought guy. They actually had a booth at the Parliament of World Religions,
Oh yeah.
and I had the best time kind of talking with them. And I asked them. I said, "So, let me understand. Would rape be wrong? I mean, how would you even determine these kinds of things? Because there's really no standard by which you can determine if something is right or wrong." And he said, "Well, of course you wouldn't rape because you would know that's wrong." And I go, "Well, but that would only be your knowing that's wrong. That doesn't mean my knowing it's wrong. There's no connection between the two. I could believe something completely different than you, and it would still be true because it's after all, just my truth."
Mm-hmm.
He
Well, how did
got
he answer you?
he got totally stuck. He just wanted to argue to me that there is an absolute truth that he believes, and everyone should believe it. And I go, well, you might want me to believe it, but that doesn't mean it's actually true. So it creates a problem.
What I would say is if that were me and I were in his position, I would say, of course, it's wrong to rape because if I did that, then I'm bringing that to myself. Because the idea in New Thought is that because we're all one, like this is why unity is called unity, is that they're big about non-dualism, right? So like
Right.
we're as Christian, yeah, like
Right.
we're Christians and
But if you have done something wrong in your past and you need to be punished for that to bring about your right behavior, wouldn't
are you talking about karma?
well, sort of, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. New Thought wouldn't necessarily. It's kind of the same, where it's like what you do to somebody else, you're doing to yourself.
Right.
But the karma, the New Age view of karma, New Thought wouldn't hold to.
Okay.
The idea is that the reason why evil exists in New Thought is because people are ignorant to their to their inner divinity. So the reason why somebody would fly planes into twin towers, the reason why somebody would murder or rape is because they are divine, right? But they are ignorant to that. And if they were to awaken to that, if they were to become conscious of the Christ within, then they would know, you know what I mean? Like then so
Sure.
basically that's their answer for that. And the way that they would kind of skirt around those kinds of things is the reason why you do well and you treat others well is because that's what you want to bring to yourself. You don't want to do that to somebody else because then you're doing it, you're bringing it to yourself. So it's more law of attraction. It's more of a
Okay.
universal law that because you are the same as me. The divinity within you is the same as divinity in me. The light in you is the same as the light in me. So what I'm doing to you, I'm doing to myself. And so that's how they would the beliefs, if they're going to be consistent with it. The problem is that there's an issue if something is done wrong to you. This is how I would have formed it. Like if I were talking to them, like, okay, so if I come up and I punch you in the face, you brought that to yourself, right? Like, did you
Right.
not bring that to yourself?
Right.
Yeah, did you deserve that? Should I have justice brought to me? Like the lack of justice in this belief is really where it's at. The God of New Thought has no justice. And so ultimately the cross makes no sense to them. Jesus died because of ignorance. People didn't understand the beliefs he was saying. And the cross is a metaphor for us rising again kind of thing. You know, it's a metaphysical way of us understanding who we are, right? Like it gets real messy in that regard, but the way that
Yeah,
they
yeah.
deal with evil, yeah.
Well,
This is why I
which is often the case with false teaching. It gets really messy
yeah.
in a number of areas. There's no clear, here's what it is.
Mhm.
Now, you're kind of talking about the law of attraction, and
Mhm.
we're not going to get through every single chapter, but we're going to cover the topics generally. So, what is the law of attraction then, and how does that work itself into kind of word faith, New Apostolic Reformation?
Yeah, so law of attraction is a really big new thought belief. A lot of people think, oh, it's new age. It's actually began with new thought. And it's not just the law of attraction. The thing is that when I was believing these things, I was always taught there's all kinds of laws to the universe. There's the law of assumption, the law of sowing, the law of tithing. Like there was laws that you would follow. And they were just rules, spiritual rules, laws that if you followed them, you could create your life. One of
Okay.
them is the law of attraction. It's the most popular, most well known. Um, and it's basically what I was saying before, right? What you do to somebody else, you're doing to yourself. Like attracts like. Your your thoughts and your feelings. This is a big one. The feelings, I can't emphasize enough that your feelings and emotions in this belief system have a frequency to them, a vibration, a spiritual vibration. So whatever you're feeling and thinking is on a vibrational level, and it's being attracted to you, hence the law of attraction. So if I'm thinking healthy thoughts, if I'm feeling healthy, then that must, and they're very confident, by the way,
You mean
very
like
confident.
you're talking about good vibrations here, right?
Yeah, vibes.
I'm
Or
thinking of
vibes.
good
And it brings
vibration.
it
Oh,
brings
okay.
it into your space, and it must manifest into your reality. And there's a lot more to it, but that's the essence of it. And every feeling has a certain vibration, a certain frequency. Now, what you don't want to be is the negative vibrations. You don't want
Bad
to be
vibrations.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, anger. Remember, negative thinking or critical thinking is negative thinking, right? So if you're
Oh.
thinking about, okay, this isn't working, well, that's doubt. Like you're having these negative thoughts, and of course, if you keep thinking that, you're going to bring that to yourself. If you say you're sick, this is a big one because there's three big ones. Okay, the three big ones are money, romance, and health. Those are the three big things that most people want to attract into their life. And this is alive and well on TikTok, let me tell you. Millions and millions and millions of views on these kinds of teachings. And so say you're sick. The way that you would heal yourself with the law of attraction is that you must think happy thoughts, right? You must think healthy thoughts. I am well. I am happy. I am whole, right? Because the idea is a new thought, the truest part of you is spiritual and perfect, and you are whole. You just have to realize that. You have to believe that. And that's in essence the thought process behind the law of attraction. And what's funny is everything I just said can be transferred over into the word faith movement.
Right.
And so I historically try to draw that line, how the health teachings got in there. However, I was talking to who was he? Oh my gosh, how was his name? Dr. Bowman. His book was one of the main source material that I used for my chapter.
Rob Bowman, yeah.
Rob Bowman. And he was like, well, he's like, you might want to look more into the prosperity angle, because I'm thinking Kenyon is E.W. Kenyon is a big player in how these got transferred over into word faith. But prosperity teachings, he still says, yes, these are new thought teachings, but he's like,
Right.
I would look into other avenues of how prosperity teachings got into the word faith movement outside of Kenyon. So I might do that later. There might be an update on the chapter, but the point is there are new thought teachings in word faith. The question is, how did they get there? And so and money's another one. If you want to be rich, you have to think rich thoughts. Anything in lack. Yeah, like
Napoleon Hill, right?
Exactly.
Think and grow
Napoleon
rich.
Hill was a new thought
Right.
author.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Did you come across the story of Norman Cousins in your research?
That doesn't ring a bell. I'm always learning about new names, though.
Norman Cousins. The rumor that goes around is that here's a guy who he was diagnosed with cancer, and then he decided just on a whim that because he only had so much time to live, that he would watch is all the Marx Brothers movies before he died, and of course they're very funny, And as he kept watching them and laughing, he claimed that he was cured of cancer.
Yeah.
So there's that mind-body connection, which I guess is where I was going with this. Turns out the story that has made it. I've seen it quoted or referred to in Christian books. I forget where, but it turns out he didn't actually have cancer. He had arthritis. He wasn't cured of the arthritis. It only just kind of maybe helped his symptoms a little bit. Maybe a lot of dopamine and serotonin can do that to pain. I don't know, but do you see like there was a book that came out called "The Body Keeps Score" a few years ago, and I hear it's been widely discredited. But it's another book that tries to amp up on this mind-body connection. When you're talking about this, that's where my mind goes. Has anyone tried to defend this aspect of New Thought by appealing to that?
Oh yeah, not that specific book or anything, but yeah,
in general.
And every chapter needed a caveat for this reason, because it's almost like you can't just have your coffee with cream, right? Like you have to add all kinds of extra ingredients and crap to make it, taste
I drink
better.
Mine black coffee.
Yeah, I you know what I mean? It's like you kind of have to add all of this other stuff. And this is the problem with these kinds of teachings. You can't just say, hey, have you thought that maybe your depression is linked to the fact that you spend 7 hours on social media every day? Right? Like changing the way you think, right? And think about it like even 20 years ago, because these are new, guys. Like these are actually really new.
Pretty new, yeah.
Yeah, like think about the other aspects to it. Like, how's your diet? Like, are you a negative, cynical person? Why? And like looking into that and actually strategically changing the way that you're thinking is not like this big revolutionary thing. This is common sense. This is common sense that if you have a better attitude, you're going to have a better life. Okay. That's not New Thought. That's common sense, right? Where it becomes New Thought is that you're thinking, okay, I'm going to heal myself through, and here's where it gets real dicey, because sometimes it works. And I have a whole section on this, because this is what kept me. This was a big thing for me, that why I was attracted to these teachings is that it worked. It worked. There's a book I own somewhere around here, where the whole thing it's a New Thought book talking about the New Thought beliefs, and it's just testimonials of people who have healed themselves.
Well, I've talked to people in Christian Science who claimed they became Christian Science from witnessing a healing.
Exactly. Witnessing or feeling it. People have followed Benny Hinn, Kenneth Copeland for the same reasons. For the same reasons. And I have I call this the "it works" trap, because this is what gets people. And then tell me, it's really hard. They are the hardest people to talk to. The people that go to a Kenneth Copeland conference and claim to get healed. Because then you can't tell them that Kenneth Copeland's a false teacher. Like, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Well, I became a Jehovah's Witness because in my time of need, God sent them to me, and I became a new person, because it's really hard then. Like the emotional attachment is there.
Right.
But then you
become invested.
You become invested, and then the whole "it works" thing can be a whole thing. But the point is that the idea, it's common sense. If you're trying to make better choices and your life gets better, then, but when you're attributing some sort of mind power and you're thinking of it as a formula, that here's the beauty of the Christian worldview. Okay. Here's where it really, the rubber meets the road. Okay. Is when it doesn't work. When it doesn't work. Like
what you're trying to get out of it.
The whole point of the Christian worldview is that is my grace sufficient? Are you content? Is Jesus enough? That is the answer to suffering, right? Like it's the cross. And so this is where it kind of steals that whole problem, if you will, by trying to get a solution to it that's basically just smoke and mirrors.
Well, and we have been largely over psychologized as a culture over the last 30 years, especially. And so the question of does it work is, does it make me happy? Does it fix my problems?
Yeah.
It isn't really, is this pleasing to God? It's a very different understanding of the world.
The question should be, is it true?
Right.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Is it true? Because if it's not true, then just give it up and do something else.
Because occultic things, I always say that God doesn't warn against occultic practices because they don't work.
No,
He
no,
warns
but
against them because they do.
right, exactly right, exactly. And Marcia and I both say that quite often to people. And so what we're seeing happen, you're seeing it, we're seeing it happen, is a lot of the teachings that are infiltrating the church, like the Enneagram, like Jesus calling. You can kind of go through the whole gamut of false teaching that the church is embracing, is because it makes me feel better about my situation. The question, when I speak on the Enneagram, someone goes, well, how am I going to ever know why I do what I do? And I go, okay, this is actually really simple. You're not going to like the answer. You're a sinner. That's why you do what you do.
Yeah.
Now, here's how you deal with it. You repent and start surfing one another, and then the issues begin clearing up. So you don't need a magical teaching that tells you you're not a sinner, you've never been separated from God. That is a lie. And it's not going to take you to a very good place.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
So, all right. So a different gospel, which is kind of where we're at now. What is the gospel of the new thought, and how does that infiltrate?
Yeah, what's the good news? What is the good news they're spreading?
That you have a divine spark within you and you are good. You just have to realize your own inner power. That Jesus came to show you the Christ consciousness, that you are just as much the I am as he is, and that you are, it's basically the serpent's lie that you are God.
So when Kenneth Copeland says, when Jesus says I am, I say I am too, is a new thought mantra, basically.
I would argue that, yes. The idea that you are a co-creator with God, that you have the power of God to create, to heal, to have the best life that you can, like the happiness. It's funny because a lot of, like, we talked about Napoleon Hill. A lot of the message is a very American dream message. It's just been over spiritualized. It's been overreached. And so you deserve this, right? Like, you deserve to have a good life. And the secret, if you will, that they don't always tell you, it's kind of hidden until maybe later chapters of whatever book you're reading, or the undergirding assumption, or the undergirding belief of why any of this works is because you're divine. And it's even at the end of The Secret, actually, the law of attraction. Oh, here. Nope, that's not it. It's over here somewhere. I have so many books that I swear I know where they're at, but again, it's in my chapter about the law of attraction. But that's the idea, is that the reason why you are able to attract anything, the reason why you can manifest, the reason why everything responds to you, that you can create with vibrations of your mind, frequency, whatever it is that you are divine. That's the gospel of new thought.
So, and The Secret was popularized by
Rhonda Byrne. And Esther and Jerry Hicks, who I just went to a conference of theirs, or well, not of theirs because Jerry passed away, but I went to a Abraham and Esther Hicks conference, and the law of attraction became very popular in our society because of Rhonda Byrne, who wrote The Secret.
Right.
But it was well known before then. Putting it kind of in making it popular in circles by Abraham and Esther Hicks, but it was really a book by Wallace Wattles, I believe it was, or was it? I think it was Wallace Wattles. The Science of Getting Rich was the book that Rhonda Byrne read, and it's a New Thought book teaching about the law of attraction. And I just it all leads back. But at the end of her book, she's saying this, like, you are God. The earth spins on its orbit for you, and the wind blows for you. Everything exists because of you. You are magnificence. You are this, you are that. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, let's replace this with God, with Jesus being the creator, right? And it just shows you, like, when you flip it like that, it shows the idolatry, basically, the
Idolatry.
blasphemy.
It is
Yeah.
idolatry. And of course, Oprah Winfrey pumped that one a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which made it even more popular out there in the non-Christian world, the secular world, so to speak.
Yeah.
So transitions both ways. Interesting. All right. Ron, you want to show them the book again?
Oh, I would love to do that. I'll have to reopen the file.
Well, I could do it. I have the file open. I just got to go present.
Yeah, go ahead.
Watch how fast, watch how quickly this could work if I do it fast.
Setting up for our outro.
If I move fast here, here we go. Boom. There we go. Happy Lies. How a movement you probably never heard of shaped our self-obsessed world. Melissa Dougherty. There is a link in the description that you can go grab that from.
And I have it on Kindle now, so
It is, yeah. If you want to hear it on Kindle, in fact, I think I'll do the Kindle version.
Do you have audio too? I can.
Yeah.
Oh, great!
Yeah, it took 3 days to do that. The audio version.
I love walking and listening to Kindle books. So
yeah, I narrate it.
Okay. You do it, huh?
Yeah, it's actually hard work. You have to go in there. It takes like 3 days.
When you say go in there, where do you go?
A recording studio. Your publisher finds one in your area usually, or if you're not near a major city, you have to travel sometimes. But for me, there was one there here in my city because I'm next to a major city, and then you go and you read it, and it's hard. It's actually really hard to do.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
It is. I wanted to do it. We finally did one with our Gothard book, but we cheated. We used the mechanical voice that Amazon puts out. It came out okay. So and we have one for Marsh's book as well. So that's good. All right, Ron, would you care to walk us out of here?
I would care to give credit to whom credit is due. Our resident cult leader profiler is Neil before me. Our wardrobe manager is See How It Fits You. Culinary services are provided by Chef Ham and Cheese. Our tinfoil hat provisioner is Just In Case. Jehovah's Witnesses coverage comes from Armageddon and The Opposer. Our Mormon Archives manager is Polly Gummas. Our Liberal Denominations Bureau chief is Lucy Goosey. Our transgender issues coverage comes from Ben Hur. Special correspondent for cults based on the Hindenburg disaster and flying turkeys. Oh, the humanity. Our fact-checking supervisor is Yoleg Pulling. Technical assistance comes through Murky Research. Our legal advisors are at the law firm of Dewey, Cheatham & Howe. Our grievance resolution director is Giovanna Pisani. Our director of privacy assurance is wiretapping. And original idea sourcing comes from Drew Blank. The Unknown Webcast is a production of Midwest Christian Outreach, Inc. in cooperation with Emergency Manicure Productions, both of whom are solely responsible for this content, although you will never be able to prove that in a court of law.
Never happened.
We're waiting. I don't think it's going to happen. Okay.
All right. Well, and here we are back.
Yes.
Melissa, we definitely want to have you back in the future. Sometime sooner than we have between the last time you were here and now.
Was that pre-COVID when you were here last time? I forget.
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah,
okay, that's way too long.
But she's always been busy. She's raising her little kidlets, and they're not so little anymore.
How's your oldest?
14.
Okay, that's not little done.
I wear many hats. It's time management is definitely something you got to learn at this stage.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and you think that when you get older, that will be less of a problem. No, you just get busier doing other stuff. What happens?
Yeah.
All right. And with that, we're going to end the stream. So y'all can say bye.